Let's not play pretend here. We all hate going to the dentist. The fear or discomfort, I believe, actually stems from how the dentist is portrayed in children's media. First thing that pops into my head is the dentist and his son from Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah, that's not something that tells children going to the dentist is fun. Or maybe you were unlucky enough to be too young to have been watching Little Shop of Horror. Great musical, don't get me wrong. But if a child sees a dentist singing about how he's only a dentist because he loves causing pain to his patients, that also wouldn't really smooth over well during their next annual cleaning appointment. Hello, my lovely kittens. It's Perry. And for this month, I thought I'd talk about my worst experience at the dentist. Note that I'm not talking about a routine cleaning or even getting wisdom teeth removed. Fun fact about me, my mouth is so small that my wisdom teeth just can never have room to grow in. Almost 25 and they still stay dormant inside my gums. No pain, no need to remove. But I will be talking about actual teeth removal, so if this kind of topic makes you a little squeamish, then please click off. I promise I won't be mad if you decide not to watch any further. Your comfort means more to me than one more view. Let's not forget that if you like the art behind me, then a click on the like button would be appreciated. Each like lets me know people still enjoy my videos, even with subpar editing software. This piece is a redesign of my cousin and my MLP OCs. Made it way back in 2014 and decided now is the time to change it. Yes, it's Halloween based, I don't care if it's June. Also, if you love seeing my little cat face, then click subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell to be notified for my monthly videos. Now, let me start off from the beginning of this horrid journey, when it starts in 2018. So, another fun fact, I failed 3rd grade. I could see if I could make this its own separate story time, but failing 3rd grade and being born late in the year added to a combination where I graduated in 2020. At 19. But this was 2018, I believe it was early in the year because school wasn't let out yet, so I had to have been 17. I was just sitting in my room playing a game on my TV when I started feeling something weird in one of my very back bottom molars. It wasn't painful, but it didn't feel right. Like my nerves fell asleep and got pins and needles. The second I felt it, I went out to tell my mother this. She said she set me up an appointment, but she never did. How I know is that a few months later, I was in the cafeteria at school. You know how you do the good old tongue scan? You know, when you're done eating and you use your tongue to scoop out leftover food from the tops of your teeth? No? Just me? Okay, well, I was doing that during a conversation, and I felt a hole. It wasn't the typical groove the molars usually have, it was a good, sizable hole. I literally froze in that moment. Internal panic, heavy breathing, verge of crying, told my friends that I think I have a cavity. Now, this wasn't the first time I've had a cavity, but it was the first time there was a cavity in my second set of teeth, so I was freaking out. Once again, I went home and told my mother, and she said she'd set up an appointment. You'll have to remember I was 17, so still a minor. So my parents had to set up my appointments for me. At least that's what I believed. Now, more months pass, no appointment, even in 2019, well past me turning 18. I can't recall when the shift started, but eventually the pain came. It came and it got worse as the weeks went by. To the point I couldn't even eat anything. Even drinking water was painful. It was a sharp searing, like someone was stabbing me in my tooth. But that ain't the worst of it. Out of nowhere, during this level of pain, I woke up in the middle of the night, crying from the agony, that now the tooth across from this one was on its own level of pain. I had 2 cavity-ridden teeth, both of my bottom back molars. I think my mother saw the discomfort and finally got to booking the appointment. They filled me in for a sit-down within the week. I met my dentist and his assistant. The assistant was pretty chill, I vibed with her a bit, and I thought my dentist was a chill guy as well. Explained to them the pain I was experiencing, and they saw the x-rays. Because the cavities ended up causing nerve damage is why it was hurting so bad. No filling could fix them. They had to be removed. Now, I expected this, and I explained to them that I had never been put under for anything before. Never broke a bone, never needed wisdom teeth removal, never had any disease that called for surgery. So because I never knew this experience, I didn't know what to expect, which made me rather anxious. My dentist said he understood and would walk me through everything. He even said I could have my mother in the room with me while I got put under. I even asked if my cousin could be there with me, and he agreed to this. Remember that. I can't say how long it took till I could have the teeth pulled, but all I remember was the agony I was in, needing to drink from a straw far back in my throat to avoid the liquid touching the cavities. Barely eating anything from the pain. Till the morning of my surgery, my mother got me and my cousin in the car, took us to the office, and right away they sat me down. Of course, there was a needle involved, and I hate needles. I can't explain it right, but with what they were giving me, it involved both an IV and a mask. Well, it wasn't really a mask, it was a tube with small nose inserts. I started singing to myself with the needle to distract myself, and that was all fine. Until my dentist said my mother and my cousin had to go out into the waiting room. That was not what was discussed. I thought they would be there till I fell asleep. This was not spoken to me, so I started panicking, causing the assistant to tell me I needed to calm down in order to avoid any incident with the sedation. Nah, I couldn't believe a word they were saying. Even when my dentist was telling me what each item or medication was for, so I called him a liar, which he was. He said my mother and cousin would be in the room with me for my comfort, and he took that comfort away when I actually needed it. When I tell you this man lost all my respect with one action, I mean that. Because I called him a liar in my panic, in my lack of knowledge of what was happening. This man looked me dead in the eye, like bent down to my eye level, and with a tone I only heard from my father, he said, "You're really starting to piss me off." Let that sink in. This professional had done one of the most unprofessional things I've ever seen in the medical industry. I was dumbfounded, giving him an unbelievable stare with no words. I didn't want this man in my mouth now, but what other choice did I have? They already gave me the sedative. I was gonna pass out soon anyway. I woke up in my bed, mouth gauzed up, gums sore, but no more cavities. I don't know what possessed me when I woke up, but I just stumbled out of my bed and laid in my mom's. Now the thing is it was still midday, so my mom was out doing whatever, and I shared a room with my cousin during this year. So I guess in my drugged out state, I just wanted to be alone. But when I sobered up, I told my mother what he said to me. 'Cause you don't forget the crap you see or hear before the stuff kicks in. So, what ended up happening for my follow-up, I saw a different woman from his assistant to see how everything was going. I didn't see him, I didn't see his assistant, and I think my mother made that request. I swear, had he been more understanding of my situation, what I was going through with a foreign experience, and understood I called him a liar because he moved my family out of the room before I passed out like we discussed, maybe he wouldn't have said what he said to me. Highly unprofessional. At the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but today I so wish I filed a formal complaint. Hopefully, if I wasn't the only one he spoke like that to, I hope someone else had the right mind to file such a complaint. I want to out the office, but he was just one dentist that worked there, and I don't want to tarnish the office if they had other dentists that knew how to talk to patients. But this man sure as hell did not. And I think this was the reason why I actually hate the dentist's office. Not the exaggerated portrayal in media, not the fact that I had to be put under, no. But this one man here, it always just takes one. Sure, I live in a different city now and probably will never see him again, but it still leaves such a sour taste in my mouth. But let me know your thoughts, and tell me what makes you fearful of the dentist. Like I said last month, sharing trauma is always nice to bond over. But if anything, I hope none of my kittens have ever had an experience with such unprofessionalism. With a dentist, with a surgeon, a pediatrician, with your OBGYN, anyone in the medical industry. And my message for those in that line of work. You are what you are because you want to help. If you lack compassion, sympathy, empathy, or lack the proper communication skills needed to calm down any patient and choose to make their experience worse, then find a new career path. I hope all my kittens wake up every morning with fruit juice and sugar, and I hope to see you all next time.